I feel that I have a lot of money, but I have a great deal of fear around misusing it and it disappearing, or not being able to continue that flow. Can you?
Well, that is a logical thing, because most of you, in the physical environment in which you have been fostered, you hear things like, "Don't waste that." There is a very strong attitude that is prevalent everywhere throughout your society that says we have limited resources and we are squandering them. Esther was watching a little bit of television last evening, listening for the weather, and they were showing different things on the screen as the Coast Guard was giving the weather, and one of the things that came across the screen was about taking care of your planet and not wasting it. And Esther just smiled and said to them, "All is well." Because there is no shortage. You see, the energy flow is infinite. It always comes forth. And so as physical beings who utilize the energy flow, you can create anything that you need whenever you need it. Think about it. Esther has hundreds of catalogs on her desk and in the baskets around it. And not one of them comes from another planet. In other words, all of this stuff was present on your planet, and as physical beings with your creative resourcefulness, you have discovered how to utilize it to create the lifestyle that is pleasing unto you. And these resources are forever here for you, changing, but that gives you the delicious fun of reorienting yourself to the changing resources as you evolve through this space and time reality, you see. And so, since there is no shortage of energy, we would encourage you, rather than thinking in terms of money, which there might be a balance in my checkbook that at some time could be depleted, provided no more money came in. Instead, realize that there is a never-ending source of energy. Think of energy, not money. Think of energy, not food. Think of energy, in other words, the energy, the regenerating energy is continuous. And so we promise you there is no shortage. There is blockage, yes. Or better stated, there is resistance. There is a disallowance of that by some individuals that would stand up and make you think there is shortage everywhere, but there is not. There is only shortage where there is resistance, you see.
So I can cash in my stock and go play, and I'll be able to figure out something else to do to replace it. See, this is...
Well, now, as you think about doing that, as you say, all right, I'm going to cash in my stock and go play, we felt a tremendous rising of resistance in the room, not just from you, but everyone thought, several people thought, no, don't do that.
Yeah, well, see, that's
and so as long as there is that feeling of resistance, don't do that. In other words, you're not wanting, never take action when there is a feeling of resistance. What you're wanting to do is to talk to yourself about your personal abundance and about the ongoing abundance of the universe that you are personally tapped into until you have that sense of well-being. And when that sense of well-being is within you and you have no fear or resistance, then you may very well do just that. But you're wanting to feel your way through it. In other words, the rule of thumb is never take action when there is negative emotion within you, because it will always be counterproductive. Always sit on the steps as Esther did and talk to yourself till you feel better, and then follow the inspired action that comes from that open valve. Yes.
Yes, because all my advice has been just filled with resistance, and so I just sort of go back into the shell.
Well, let's say that
again.
somebody says to you, you have X amount of dollars and you want to put them in very safe places so that they will continue to generate money. And you say, well, that really does make sense. How nice to have dollars that are secure. That gives me a sense of well-being. And I really prefer the sense of well-being that gives me to the short-lived trip around the world that could be over in 30 days. When I think about it, I really feel that this money is better placed here for the sense of well-being that it gives me. But I'm realizing more and more I don't have to choose one or the other. I can have a sense of well-being and a trip around the world. And my trip around the world is not needing necessarily to come from this stash of money that I have. In other words, why not set my intention to have this pile of security somewhere just because it makes me feel better for now, and I'm also going to set an intention to do more traveling and more of the playing that I really want to do. One is not contingent upon the other. There is enough non-physical energy to feed both piles, you see.
Sounds good.
What we hear very often, and we think we can get right to the heart of this, every now and again we'll talk to someone who has an inheritance or a trust, or they have a husband who has a means of supporting them, or they have a job that pays them rather well, or they have a source of income. And they almost always seem to resent that source in some way, because it dictates what they do and when they do it and how they do it. And so it's that resentment of that source that keeps the money from flowing. In other words, and we want them to understand this pile or this trust or this father or this source of dollars that is coming to you is just the avenue through which you are temporarily allowing dollars to flow. It's just the path of least resistance for you. But there are infinite paths. But you can't find those other paths if you're resenting this one. In other words, if you're saying, I'm working too hard for my money, or my employer doesn't appreciate me, or the people who orchestrate my trust are doling the money out in such small amounts that I can't really live the way I want to, as long as there is resentment or resistance or blame against something, you can't open the valve to allow the more, you see. Yes. And so that's why we say there's not a right and wrong way to do this. You just have to talk more about what you want with the intent of goosing up that feeling of well-being, and then pay attention to any negative emotion you have, which is indicator of resistance, and talk it down. Goose up the wanting, talk down the resistance. Goose up the wanting, talk down the resistance. That is the secret to the passionate, powerful creating that you've all come here to experience.
Yes, and I recognize this now, because every time I seem to create some way of increasing my income, I stop it.
All right, now start writing new scripts right away. In other words, rather than saying something like that,
yes,
which may be true, it's still lighting your light board in a way that the universe is responding to that light, yes, on that light board. So what you're wanting to do is begin changing that dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
In the past, I have not allowed dollars to flow in the way that I want or deserve. But that is changing every day. Every day, I'm more open to the abundance that is natural to me. And I know more ideas will come. I can't tell you right now how it's going to come. I just know it's going to come. Mm-hmm. And it's not so important that I identify the how. What's important is that I know it's coming and that I keep my eyes or feelers out, you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Indeed.